Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my Daily Dose with Tim. Today is season 3, episode 39, and it is also part 9 of how to execute lease options the right way. And we're continuing with the advanced deal analysis based on the business decisions that you think you might be making. And for many of you, actually, I've already gotten some feedback from you that some of these things that you haven't even really thought about yet, because at the moment, it's really just theory. And so I'm really walking you through some of the thought processes and really real life situations that have happened, that will happen, pretty much almost guaranteed. And once again, you know how I am so allergic and sensitive to the G word there, usually as an investor these days. So I want to make sure that we are all on the same page here. So I'm going to bring back up the spreadsheet that I started using in the previous episode with everybody. So I've had the time to actually reset the numbers already so that it matches everything that we went through when we were initially doing the deal analysis on the flip chart. So once again, if you want to take a look at the quick summary box right up here, it's a lease option, it's a rent to own, and it's a 3-year deal, and the total profit is $77,750 over 3 years. And as a result, your average ROI per year is 29.5%. And the tenant buyer's total option consideration after 3 years' time is $65,008. And last but not least, which is one of the most crucial points when we want to satisfy income credit down payment, as previously discussed, is 10% at this point, even though it is literally double of typically what lenders would require. Now, depending on the tenant buyer's situation and after their initial qualification with you and your mortgage broker or whoever it is that's helping you to really do that pre-qualification to determine when and how much they're going to be able to afford taking over the mortgage and buying you out as the investor, that number could potentially change. So once again, if you're just kind of jumping in onto this episode and you haven't had the opportunity to watch at least this entire topic from scratch yet, make sure you stop and pause here right now and you go back to season 3, episode 31 at the very least, okay? So what I'm gonna do also is that all these episodes, we're probably usually about 1 or 2 episodes behind schedule. However, all these episodes are actually put on YouTube as well. So I know sometimes it's a bit more challenging to scroll through all the posts within the group here. However, if you want to have a more streamlined viewing process, I've been told that my Daily Dose with Tim, to some people, it's kind of like they're more helpful and more productive version of Netflix. And so I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that comment, because I really, I believe that that means that you are finding value, and instead of just kind of sitting on the couch and mindlessly going through something, you're actually learning something. So I really, really thank you for those comments. And so on that note, as you can see, everything has been reset now. So today I want to go into a different scenario, actually maybe a couple, just because they tend to go a little hand in hand, in my opinion. If you remember the SMP process, okay, strategy, market, and property. In this particular case, market conditions, because remember, yesterday or the previous episodes, what we discussed was really more of a business decision based on the strategy itself. It has really nothing to do with what's happening out there in the real life, more or less. So what's happening is I'm getting quite a few messages from some of you. I'm not going to name who you are. You know who you are, from Vancouver, from Toronto, from Houston, and from Miami, asking questions like, well, hang on a second, you're only using 3.5% as your average appreciation. However, in my market, I mean, I can do more, no? Because that is literally what has happened over the last 10, 20 years. And so first thing first, I want to stress on the fact that I love that you did mention 10 to 20 years average, because I've had investors, or what I call not really investors, what they've done is, especially let's say during when times are really good, as in, for example, in some of the major metropolitan markets between 2014 and 2017, the markets were just going up like crazy. And during COVID lockdowns, towards the end of 2020 and throughout 2021, a little bit of 2022, some of the markets continue to have those trends where it was just basically going straight up. And once again, if you're not educated, you can definitely make some money in those markets. However, it's not sustainable. It's not what we look for as professional investors. There are things that, there are qualities that we always strive for so that you are sustainable in the long term, and that is momentum as well as longevity. It doesn't matter if you can make some money when the market's just going through its natural lift, because right now I can tell you, this is what, June 2023. There were people that were even calling themselves coaches and trainers in the last 3 years. As I mentioned, they were not exactly coaches and trainers, because this is what I fought really hard to stand against, which is they really want to go out there and get OPM, gain access to other people's money. They put up a little sign that called themselves coaches and mentors, and then they end up feeding their students deals that went sideways when the markets turned on them. And these people are no longer around. Sadly, it's not the first time I've seen this, and that's okay. Everybody gets to make their choices. I just want you to know that that's what I personally stand against, and I'm hoping that you're understanding the message here as well. And so coming back here though, again, 10 to 20 year average is really what we look for. So in some of the bigger cities, definitely you're always going to see a bit of more of a natural market lift. Once again, I'm so blessed and grateful to be living in a market that goes sideways, simply because of the fact that it really encouraged me and in a way forced me to really expand on my markets, and so that I can build the most well-rounded, the safest, most secure portfolio possible, because I did go through a very major dip that pretty much took everything that I built for 6 years leading up to it. And yet, within less than half the amount of that time, I built it back and almost tripled it. And so that's just when I really realized the really true value of financial education, not just real estate, because it's not just real estate, any asset class, you're still subject to the global movements of how money works, of government decisions, of, for example, things like COVID. Nobody knows, nobody saw it coming. I mean, some of you might argue, some people saw it coming. Doesn't matter. The general public did not. That's the whole point. And so coming back here though, I want to go into the part where it shows up on the spreadsheet, okay? Where it shows up on the spreadsheet. So I want to say that we always start with the end goal in mind. And what's the end goal again? Is to make sure that your tenant buyers are successful at the end of the lease option program, so that they become your best walking advertising, their best walking billboards. A lot of our tenant buyers over the years have been because of our existing tenant buyers letting people know that, hey, these guys run an amazing program. I know you've had challenges as I did. They are a pleasure to work with, and they're ethical, and they deliver as promised. And so that makes it a lot easier. So once again, if we were to say that that is the end goal, no matter what, that means we're going to fix, in this particular case, how it shows up as a thought process, their sale and transfer price at $650,000, because that's what they're qualified for in 3 years' time. And so if you're in a market where it's not 3.5%, okay, if you can look at this cell right here, 3.5 per annum, what I'm going to do now is, you know what, let's bring it up. Let's bring it up to an average of 6%. So if you remember how we go from that number to the current maximum purchase price, or the current maximum market value, is by taking out our little calculators, we punch in 650,000, okay, divided by 1.06 in this case, and you do it 3 times, okay? So divided by 1.06 divided by 1.06. So what you'll get now is a number that says $545,752. Okay, so 545,752. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna round that down in this case, once again, because this signifies the maximum current purchase price. Okay, so I'm gonna round it down to 545,000. So where do we go from here now? I'm gonna say accepted offer 545,000. And so what that also means is, again, your comp and your CMA should be either that number or greater than. Okay, so I'm gonna type in 545 here. Okay, and so if it's 545, as you can see now, the mortgage amount automatically changed and your initial down payment on your part automatically changed as well. So once again, for us Canadians, let's open up our Canadian mortgage app. Remember, if you're from other countries, other territories where the calculations is better than ours, just simply use a mortgage calculator or an amortization table. Okay, and so what I'm going to do now is the home purchase price, instead of 586, it's now 545,000. Okay, everything else held constant. Make sure you update the numbers, because sometimes the calculator does not fix certain things for you. So I just want to make sure you review that whole screen properly. So home price 545,000, down payment 20%. So you want to make sure that the 109,000 matches the 109,000 on this sheet as well. We're gonna fix everything else the same. However, let's do it this way, because we're gonna say this property is in Ontario, probably not in Toronto, because at this price range, you're probably buying a 1-bedroom condo in most places right now. And so we're gonna say this is outskirt of Toronto. If you are using the same mortgage calculator, you're able to go back to the main page and scroll down, and one of the last boxes will say land transfer. So it's going to automatically calculate that number for you. Make sure you fix it at Ontario home price. Once again, it should be pre-populated for you based on the purchase calculator. And Toronto, don't turn it on. First time home buyer, don't turn it on, because you ain't. This is for us as investors right now, okay? And non-resident speculation tax, usually, again, I am not. So if you are, that's a different consideration. I'm going to say those 3 buttons are basically in the off position. So what you will get now is a number that says 7375, 7,300. Oops, nope, I'm going to change that and actually populate it here, 7375. So hopefully you can see that reflected on the spreadsheet. Okay, and then nothing else changes. I'm just going to make sure that the numbers here are correct. And so what that means now is your total initial investment is $87,025. So let's go back here now. Profit at sale. Okay, profit at sale. Now that you're a bit more familiarized with the spreadsheet, I'm going to jump around a little bit just so that you can exercise your brains a little bit more. I know before I jumped over to the cash flow portion, I'm just going to share with you, you already know that this is going to be cash flowing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it, right? So let's just go with the flow here. 655,000 is the profit at is the sale number at transfer, excuse me, and that means their option to purchase price. So at this point, let's say that we fix the number the same because we have a new purchase price. 3 years from now, the balance is actually, based on the mortgage calculator, 417,483. Remember, because this is a loan we have to pay out, it's an expense, so I would overestimate this. So instead of 417,483, I will round it up again to the nearest 1,000. So 418 is the number that we will use here. Everything else should still be automatically populated for you. And what that also means is, because we're not changing their option to purchase price, the 10% is still fixed, which means the 903 number per month for monthly option consideration still stands. So what that means now is total profit at closing, when they get home ownership and get on title, you get to put a check of $77,967 in your pocket. Is that a good day or is that an amazing day? And so this is what I love about this strategy, okay? And so coming back down here, so some of you are going, well, oh my goodness, if you're going to buy a property like that, really depends on where it is. It could be, the rent could be anywhere from $3,000 all the way to maybe 4,500. So I'm going to do a quick average here and use $3,750. And again, remember that rent number, once it's actually put into the contract, you're fixing it for 3 years, which means you're not going to go back to them after year one and go, I'm going to raise your rent. Okay. Some of you might make different business decisions. And again, this also largely depends on fair market rent value and or the fair market rent appraisal that you will likely get when your mortgage broker or your lender is asking you to do a property appraisal. Okay, so they're going to get that done. However, just from a thought process perspective, and that's why sometimes when I give you the little side points, those are probably the more important points, because these are the real life scenarios that you have to consider. And so as a result, we're also going to say lease payment now in total between rent and monthly option is $46.53. And at this point, because we did change our loan amount, that means our monthly payment is actually different. And so I see $2,485, rounding it up because an expense. So I'm going to use $2,490 here. Okay, so, oh my goodness, take a look at this number now. It is now a monthly cash flow of $1,513. How many of these deals do you need to do so that your life can start changing? For many, many people, that's just one. So I'm hoping that you can start to see the power of the strategy, okay? And the whole SMP process, because some people will go, hang on a second, then why do I want to do this strategy in Alberta? Again, that's completely up to you based on your risk tolerance, based on your business decisions. I like the fact that my cash outlay is a lot less because I don't have to pay land transfer tax. However, again, at this point in my career, this is also why in the beginning, I also did lease options in the Ontario market too, until the Residential Tenancies Act got a little too crazy for my liking, but that's just my opinion, okay? You can look at these numbers and now go all the way back up and go, whew, look at that. 3-year deal. By just changing the market, changing a couple of numbers, the total profit nearly doubled, okay? And your return on investment is now 50.73% on average on an annual basis. And your tenant buyer is still successfully purchasing the property. So I want you to really think about that, okay? So now I understand every time we go over numbers, it takes a little bit longer. So I'm going to quickly do one more thing here, because some of you might go, hang on a second. Okay, this is a little too rosy. I'm just going to be very conservative and say, maybe this property is really in a quite rural area and the fair market rent isn't there. So because of the size of the property, I'm still going to just keep it at 3,300. That's fine. You make your own decision with the help of your mentor when you get yourself a mentor, and you're going to see cash flow on a monthly basis is still over 1,000. And this is one of the main reasons why we always say when we're doing a strategy session with our students, we always say that an average lease option either makes $20,000 a year, or it has a cash flow of anywhere between $600 to $1,500 a month. Okay, $600 to $1,500, depending on the market. However, that range really doesn't change all that much. Why? Just because of the numbers and the figures that are taken into consideration. And so in this particular case, that's the only thing that we're changing. It doesn't affect anything else in the equation here. So then we scroll all the way up. Okay, you're still making over 116,000 in an annual average return on investment of 44.52%. So this is usually when I ask people, where else are you going to go and find an asset class and a vehicle where A, you have complete control over the usage and the performance of it, and a hard asset where you are able to determine value based on what you can do with it, okay? Or even worst case scenario, save the value of what you can do with it. This is about control and security, because again, we're talking about financial education, which means learning how money works and how you can regain or gain control over the performance of your own finances and your own money in the long term. Okay, so on that note, I hope that this kind of shed some light, especially with some of you who have been going, how do I apply this in my home market? I've got a few more things just because the questions keep on coming to share with you at the next episode. So I hope that once again, you found this episode really helpful. Make sure you share these episodes with the people that you think can benefit from them. I'm going to be sharing the YouTube link in the comment section below after this, so that you don't have to scroll through the entire group. However, remember, in the Talented Investors group, I will be coming to you live with my Daily Dose with Tim, and thanks for sticking with me again, at noon Eastern time, 10 Mountain time, and 9 a.m. Pacific time every day during the week. And so on that note, have a great rest of the day. I'm getting a heat warning here in Edmonton, so it's going to be gorgeous again. So have a productive day. Live well, everybody.